They say the path to wealth is a marathon, and at first, it really feels that way. You save, you deprive yourself, but the numbers barely move. You work late, skip vacations, avoid spending, and in the end, you manage to save a couple hundred a month. That money matters, of course, but it feels like you're stuck in place. Imagine you're rolling a snowball uphill. These are your first 5, 10, 20,000. Even with 50,000 in your account, a 10% return only gives you 5,000 a year. You notice it, but it doesn't change your life. The problem isn't you. It's not your discipline. It's not your intelligence. It's just math. In the early stages, your income isn't the result of compound interest, it's the result of your effort. You are the engine of wealth. Your work, your time, your sacrifices. That's why so many people give up. They look at the hard work and the tiny returns and think, if this is how wealth is built, I'll never make it. But what they don't realize is how close they are to a turning point, because once you hit $100,000, everything changes. Money starts growing faster than you can contribute it. You're no longer pushing the snowball, it starts rolling on its own. Compound interest stops being a theory, it becomes real. 10% returns on $100,000 is $10,000. For many people, that's a full month's salary, and you get it for doing nothing. No side hustle, no burnout, just letting your assets do their job. Those $10,000 get reinvested and the snowball rolls faster. After the first 100, a real shift begins. You're no longer pushing, you're steering, and the important change happens not only in your finances, but also in your mind. You start to see money differently. It's no longer just a survival tool, it's a mechanism that, if set up correctly, creates more money on its own. You stop thinking, how can I earn more, and start thinking, how can I make what I already have work more efficiently? Money stops being the finish line. It becomes an amplifier. Now it's not about how hard you work, but about the system you build. But it's important to understand, $100,000 is not a golden ticket. It's not retirement and not financial freedom. It's a turning point, the moment when math finally becomes your ally. And once you feel that for the first time, you can't go back. So the logical question arises, how can you reach this milestone faster? To reach $100,000 faster, persistence alone isn't enough. You need leverage, specifically 3 types: offense, defense, and efficiency. First, offense. That means increasing your cash flow. In simple terms, earn more. This might not seem obvious, especially if you already work full-time. But offense isn't always about getting a second job. It's about viewing your income like a faucet. The wider you open it, the faster the tank fills. Ask for a raise, find a side gig, do freelance work, offer consultations, tutor, resell items, or even repair and flip furniture. Anything that boosts the inflow of money speeds up your capital growth. One of the most powerful tools here is a skill stack. Copywriting, design, project management, coding. These skills permanently raise your market value, and every dollar earned becomes fuel for your snowball. But earning alone isn't enough. Even the strongest stream won't help if your bucket is leaking. The second lever is defense, the ability to keep what you earn. Most people lose not because they make too little, but because they can't hold on to their money. Subscriptions you forgot about. Spontaneous upgrades, impulse purchases, all of these are leaks in the pipe, draining your future freedom. Think of money like water. Every unnecessary expense is a crack. The more cracks there are, the slower your wealth reservoir fills. This doesn't mean you have to live like a monk, but it does mean you have to spend consciously. A used car instead of a new one, home-brewed coffee instead of a $6 latte, cooking at home instead of ordering takeout a couple of times a week. Track your spending, cut the noise, keep the joy. Millionaires didn't get there by spending like celebrities, they got there by thinking like strategists. The essence of defense is creating a gap between income and expenses. The bigger the gap, the more powerful the engine, but there's still one more lever that changes everything. The third lever is efficiency. When your money works smarter, not just sits there. A saved dollar is good, but a wisely invested dollar is an employee building your future. Start with tax advantages: Roth, IRA, HSA. These aren't just acronyms, they're a turbo boost for growing your capital. Check where your emergency fund is parked. If it's sitting in a bank earning 0.01%, that's like keeping a sports car in the garage with the engine removed. Move it to a high-yield account and your money starts to breathe. Watch the fees. A 1% management fee on a fund can cost you hundreds of thousands over decades. Index funds are not only cheaper, but often more effective than expensive fund managers. And finally, automation. Savings, investments, transfers, everything should work without you. Why? Because humans are emotional, but systems are not. Efficiency is when your money stops waiting and starts building. When you combine the 3 levers, offense, defense, and efficiency, the path to $100,000 $100 turns from a painful crawl into a confident sprint. But then comes the next question. What happens after you hit that mark? What changes when you cross it? The answer lies in the growth curve. Before $100,000, the curve is almost flat. Every extra $100 feels like a small victory because you're still pulling the weight yourself. But after that mark, the curve starts to bend upward first, slowly, then faster and faster. A simple example: 10% on $10,000 is $1,000. Nice, but it doesn't change your life. But 10% on $100,000 is $10,000, and you didn't do anything for it. You just invested and let time do the work. Now imagine $250,000. Same return rate, but $25,000 in passive income. That's more than the average salary in many countries. You're no longer trading time for money. You're trading money for money, and that's the key moment. This is where the real magic of compound interest begins. Every dollar earned becomes the foundation for the next. Every gain is a brick upon which new money is laid. Your dollars turn into little workers. They don't sleep, don't get sick, and don't take vacations. They just work constantly. And at some point, something happens that you've never felt before: relief. The pressure eases. You realize that you're no longer the only one pulling the cart. Your network of assets starts working faster than you do. And that's when wealth begins to build more easily. But it's crucial to understand, $100,000 isn't the finish line. It's the launch pad. Everything that comes after depends on how you manage that momentum. After this point, the game changes not just in your wallet, but in your mind. You stop living in survival mode and start thinking like a system architect. Your goal now isn't to work harder, it's to build smarter. Instead of asking, what else can I cut? You start asking, what system can I build so it works without me? You automate transfers on payday, auto-fund your investment accounts, grow your emergency fund automatically, and set up automatic debt payments. Everything becomes gears in a single machine. The less you have to think about it, the faster the machine gains momentum. Wealth stops being the result of willpower and becomes the result of infrastructure. You're not building restrictions, you're building guardrails. You're not living by don'ts, you're creating habits that work without extra decisions. Because the truth is, systems don't get tired. They don't spend money on a whim. They don't scroll through marketplaces. They don't make excuses at the checkout. They just do their job consistently. And that's the real secret of the wealthy. They don't rely on willpower, they rely on architecture. The system keeps pace, protects capital, and keeps the snowball rolling even while you sleep. But beyond the money, you change too. When you first see six figures in your account, it's not just about finances, it's about your identity. You're no longer the one chasing money, you're the one building a system. You shift from worker to builder, from income hunter to asset manager. You stop seeing $100 as a pair of sneakers. You see it as a seed that can grow into $200, $500, $1,000. A side hustle becomes a time machine, shortening the journey. Impulsive purchases now feel like sabotage, and strategy feels like freedom. You start asking new questions. Does this speed me up or slow me down? Does this action build capital or burn it? That's the shift. Not because life suddenly got easier, but because you became stronger, sharper, more strategic. You stop fearing setbacks because you know your system can handle them. You stop envying the lucky because you're building a path that won't collapse. And at some point, you no longer ask, will I become wealthy? You ask, how far can I go?